People often ask, what is the point of no return? Or when do they know when they have passed that point? And yeah, here we are dealing with people reconciling that very notion of passing the point of no return. And then once they pass that point, they just, unfold every single thing that they held dear, their morals, their life, everything that they've worked for, they saved up money for, everything. And they become this suicidal mass of evil, spewing rhetoric, self-hating, hating the world. And it's mostly to do with, the young people, their inheritance to the world. Because, uh, I think there was like a period of time where you would argue that the younger generations had a huge leg up with technological leaps and the way the world was like going heading towards this cooperative camaraderie where we're all going to be working together for our self-interests against the interests of our nations, religions, parents, etc., etc., etc. But inevitably, not only did that fail miserably, but it was a proposed lie because we can't share in that hopeful, almost idealistic dream. We just can't do it. Some people are just too stupid. They're just too evil. They're just too ignorant. You know, the point of no return. They've passed it. And what do? When they go past that point of no return? Well, I want to like take two examples. One, which is the most recent school shooter, the trans school shooter, and this Tamil Muhammad guy who got booked for like harassing people, criminal harassment, all that shit. So with these two individuals, the like, and I use them as an example because of their age gap. So the aforementioned school shooter is 17, I believe, 17, maybe going 18. So that would be grade 11 or grade 12, so graduation year. And then subsequently, this guy who's like 44. So like they most likely have passed milestones in their lives, like graduation, marriage, post-secondary education, meeting your significant other, clubbing, this and that. And most likely, upon passing those junctions in your life, you're going to, gain something from it or lose something, depending on like, your situation, your living situation, this and that. But in the case of these individuals, they are most likely dealing with the idea that women at large or the society's idealistic view of men does not encompass them, right? So for this trans guy, he probably wanted to like, fall in love, be a normal guy, and then when that didn't work out, he thought to himself, and this is, a very common trend. What if I become the woman? What if I become, what I desire? Auto gynophilification, if you will. I don't know, even know if that's the word. If just like becoming a girl for the sake of like, being sexually attracted to yourself. The word like leaves me, the definition leaves me right now. And then like, you know, as time went on, he wasn't gonna get a boyfriend. He wasn't gonna get like, the recognition or like the care that he liked outside of the teachers and stuff. I heard he was shooting at like pretty much everybody, like teachers, students, whatever. But he passed that point of no return. I think it was when he was like, shooting off these guns. It's just like trying them out. I call that advertisement. You know, he's telling you, oh, this is what I want to do with my life. This is what I want to, like, grow up to be. I want to be this dangerous guy, this guy that you don't, take advantage of, that you fear, that you wouldn't approach. Kind of like the antithesis of, the persona that he's pursued in life. And then the inevitable cumulation of all of his, like, experiences, rejections, who knows if he did well in school or not. And then inevitably, puts on his wig, or I don't know if he even had like gender reaffirming surgery. I mean, like he took it that far and just like went to school with his loaded guns and did what he had to do and took his own life at the very end, where the point of no return. You can't return from it. Like he was past it. Like most likely, if he got the gender reaffirming surgery, like that's probably the point of no return, if you will. But for like this Muhammad guy who's like running around Dundas Square filming up people and shit, trying to like get viral and stuff, you know, it must suck, eh? Seeing like little ass young men, guys half your age, even less than that, like looking at like Jack Doherty, Neo, Sneeko, the Paul brothers, and the list goes on, right? Like these guys have like millions of followers, millions of subscribers, tons of money and fame and fortune, and a guy who, like, in his mind, is more capable, right? He could speak more than one language or some shit like that, some ethnic angle, because he's obviously like bothered by the fact that like people don't like his ethnicity, people don't like his like outwardly behavior and shit. Because it's not so much that like, oh, I'm just not gonna like you right off the bat because of this, but it's like you carry that chip on your shoulder, especially when you have so many people running in from Brampton and shit, starting up all these crimes and this and that. And then you just like, lose yourself in this whole idea that like one day you're gonna get famous doing this, and you just have to like, be as annoying and be as insufferable as possible, because the idea that you want to make money will supersede the idea or the belief that people think that what you're doing is unnecessary, because it's like, well, I'm doing it for the money, I need it for the money, so I'm doing it for the fortune, for the views, for the clicks, for the viral clips or whatever. The point of no return. Yeah. I think one of my biggest fears of the point of no return, I think I almost had it, is like when you eat too much food and you stretch out your skin. Because I'm having that right now with my lower stomach. And it just like, has this fold around my lower abs and stuff. I think it'll go away eventually. It's just like it'll take a while. But I bring that up because I saw this one before and after on Instagram of this guy, and he was like excessively overweight, like borderline obese, if you will. But he had his high spirits about him. He's like, look at me, I could do this. I'm gonna make it happen, and he did. It worked out for him. He lost all the weight, gained a bunch of muscle, but then the horrifying truth of skin stretching and skin flaps and this and that. Yep. And it's not like, with a pregnant lady and this and that, stretch marks. Because you also get that, but it's like, you also have like the aforementioned, the hanging skin and all that. Just, why did you try? Like, I would have stayed fat if I knew like being skinny was gonna make me look like that. Mm-mm. these terrorist motherfuckers, right? Talking about, you know, Islam's gonna take over the world, or Khalistan is gonna like take over India or some shit like that. The point of no return, because it's like for a fact that they're doing that as a cope because women don't like them, or the women that do like them are just like on the decline, if you will. They just have to adhere to it. It's like an adhesive. They stick to it, sticking to their guns, if you will, just perpetually in the delusion that world domination for basically a religion that doesn't even give a fuck about you is actually worth something. Like the idea that you have to reconcile the fact that Jeffrey Epstein is like taking pictures with the crown prince and his brother, and his brother's in the fucking files. It's eye opening. It is eye opening. And I'll tell you something. It's one of those things about pride that I wish I learned like growing up, because I was like that too. Proud Hindu. I don't eat beef. I don't eat meat. Stop eating meat. I became like a fucking, straight up like vegetarian and everything. Biggest mistake of my life, because you want to know something? I know like this is just bullshit I'm just throwing in here, but I just, made like some extra connective tissue from my bicep to my shoulder, and like it just like fills out. Like I went from having like those biceps that just like poke through and they have like that little what I mean, right? And it looks like more like the comic book one where it's just like attached like Goku style. Fucking sick, man. And like I honestly I don't think I could have gotten it without eating red meat. Um, the change was almost like, I wouldn't say instantaneous, but it was very, very noticeable. And considering I've only basically, for more or less like 3, 4 years, been like this, maybe a little bit longer, but like I wasn't eating it as often as I am now, if that's an excuse. Um, Besides the point, right? Like, had I had stayed stuck to my guns, I'm gonna be a strict vegetarian. Even like just cutting out the whole red meat aspect, no beef, no pork, like, oh man, no dice. I would not have the muscles that I have right now. Just not, in the cards for me to just like have that genetically. Like, you just have to be realistic with it. Like, and I think some guys, and I gotta like take a jab at the no fappers again. Then this one no fappers channel, and he's like he does this thing where he will like talk about these stories, and because I've watched his previous videos, I know when he's like repeating these stories again. You fucking asshole. Talking about how he fantasizes about this and that, while he's jerking off this and that, right? Um, and I just like left a little comment. It wasn't even like that big of a deal. It's like, yo, what? Don't you even think about your kids? Like, why are you posting this shit for? And truth be told, man got insecure. I don't know if he snooped my like fucking Instagram photo profile, whatever. Oh, then he posts how I got like this sick ass body and stuff, and then it's just like, what is the point of no return? It wasn't so much like it wasn't enough that you did that no fab shit, which was clearly the point of no return. But like you have to take it a step further, and you like who subscribes to your channel? Do you honestly think girls are going to be subscribing to your channel when you're going to be talking about no fap, or that time you fantasize about this, about that, about when you jerked off this and that? You know what I mean? That part. In your life, when you realize that all the things that you were doing was just to like impress the same gender, basically. And it's just like, yo, oh, I'm telling you, man, girls watch my channel, dog. I'm telling you, they're totally interested in my like no fap journey. Yo, can you imagine as a guy, you be interested in a girl's what do you call it? I don't know, like fucking uh I don't even think girls could know fap. There is no equivalent. It's just like this thing that guys do as an alternative to having a wet dream. So it's like they feel the shame because they can't get horny on command. But it's mostly due to the fact that like if you're going to like masturbate repeatedly and like excessively, then yeah, like you're a sexual freak. you're going to you're gonna have those issues, those problems, the point of no return, if you will. Or it doesn't matter how you try to rebrand yourself. You know, self-help. You know, I'm into my fitness. I'm into my martial arts. I'm into this. It's just all bullshit. We all have to like, deal with the fact that we're all gonna have kids one day, right? And maybe my kids are going to have the same like traits that I did growing up. Where growing up, they're gonna think, "Oh, I'm the best. Oh, nobody can beat me. I can do anything." Type shit. You know. Maybe it was like the TV I watched, or maybe it was just like my own persona. But like, I have a funny feeling. If you have kids, they're gonna have that same, feeling. They're gonna be like, "I'm the best. It's my chance, my turn. I want to try all these things, right?" And you can't blame them because I was like that. Maybe a lot of other people are like that. And if you can't like sympathize for, a young man like growing up to not like have a father who, you know, and this is coming from me. Like, I actually I'm not all that ashamed that my children, specifically my sons, are gonna see me with like lipstick and nail polish on, because in hindsight, there's going to be the fact that the vast majority of guys who are adhering to, let's just say, nefarious lifestyle choices, like the mistreatment of women, the like, this is me making broad statements. This isn't me like being specific, but like the idea that like a woman is a subservient like creature that serves a purpose for an individual who's more or less de facto a man-child, where I have to. This is where I get my separation anxiety from. This is where I feel as if like being the male gender, like it's not gender dysphoria as it is like the disbelief that we were all the same gender. Like, how can I be the same gender, right, as Jeffrey Epstein? Like, there's this guy who's like sick in the head, right? Talking about torture, talking about human trafficking and stuff. Well, speaking about human trafficking, so like I mentioned in my previous video, right? How like the grooming gangs were actually trafficking girls back to Pakistan, you know, and I thought to myself, like, is this what he's trying to do? Like, is Sadiq Khan trying to like figure out like what his like actual limit is? Like, he doesn't understand it because he doesn't he knows he doesn't fit in, right? And I think this is like a shared thing, whether it's like terrorists, whether it's like these trans confused individuals. It's like these hyper depressed, almost uh, like people who think they are the antithesis of society. We're like, we're going to like take over society. We're better than you. We're like, we don't drink. We don't do this. We don't do that. But it's like the hypocrisy of it is so woefully barren. Like, especially when we're talking about like sexual assaults and those types of things. Like, I think Sadiq Khan has to inevitably, like, understand that like his constant dismissal of these crimes will only haunt not only him but the Pakistani, nationality, pop, for centuries, not even for decades, for centuries, dude. Can you imagine people being let in by the millions? It was like, what is it, 500,000 right now? Being let in to just like, for absolutely no reason. There's no real war going on there. There's no real possibility of benefit over having these people illegally migrating into your country. And they're mostly guys anyway, so it's a clear cut invasion. It's just beyond belief the fact that we have to also accept the horrifying truth about this. And I spoke about this before, but yeah, the imbibed poison, when you're dealing with individuals who allow these people to do as they wish, do as they please. And they are very much as much as the problem as the people that they are letting in. So like these Pakistanis are bad, but so is Keir Starmer. So are the people in charge that are allowing this to happen, that are allowing these people to take charge, to take power, to take, seats. This is a huge issue that if Europe can't deal with this, chances are you're going to be feeling a lot more alone in the world. Like you're going to have places where you can go to, like maybe East Asia, Australia, you know, South America. And then that's it. Bye bye world. Because you can't help them. They just allowed it to happen. They turned their backs on their own women and allowed these men to run their countries by the millions. Their own police protect them. It's honestly pathetic, but it's true. You gotta cut them loose. It's their fight now.